All right, let's roll. Hopefully our internet won't be too bad. Make sure that track 1, 2, track 2 and 3 are. There we go.
Jesus is mi pana. What he is?
Oh, the one is not working.
Okay, we're struggling.
It's good. Everything's good. Hey, you got to delete those little bitty tiny tracks you just made. Little bitty tracks.
The one is not working.
Oh, did you change his buttons the last time?
No.
The MIDI tab is not working.
No.
Well, he's saying that it's not working.
Oh wait, you talking about camera one or
The MIDI tab.
The MIDI board.
well?
This is going really well, guys. Sorry about that. This is so anyway, I don't know if how bad the internet was, if it just she won the grand prize. Yeah. So I don't know how bad the internet was whenever you guys were watching, but we did just re-give away the Catholic Man Show Yeti cooler that's right behind us. Dominic is the winner. Shout out also to all of our patrons. We got some new patrons. Oh, did it get unplugged? We got some new patrons this week, so I appreciate that. I posted on our Twitter page the other day. I found a picture of Dave and I right before we recorded our very first Catholic Man Show episode, which went really bad. We don't even have most of the episode recorded, so you can't even find it because we didn't know what we were doing. But
miraculously.
But yeah, so I was looking at that picture and just how crazy it's been, that the transformation of the studio. It was really amazing to look at how we had it situated. Of course, we weren't even doing video at the time. We weren't even working on videos, so we weren't really worried about it too much. And originally, this room was going to be my prayer room before we even started the Catholic Man Show. So I had it more situated for prayer. But anyway, you can go to our Twitter page and you can find that picture because it was pretty good. Plus, Dave didn't have a beard at that point either, which was... You looked even younger than you do now without the beard.
It's almost like I was younger.
Because you were 4 years younger
than I am now.
Yeah.
You remember the mustache cam?
Oh, yeah. That was such a great video.
Caterpillar.
Look at that. Hairy caterpillar. All right, let's see if this works.
Warning. The Catholic Man Show
You gotta
contains high
there you
levels of manliness. It's simple, really. You either want to grow in virtue and holiness, or you want to be a sissy, whiny baby. If you choose to move forward, grab your whiskey glass, because the Catholic Man Show is starting right now.
Right meow. Did you say meow?
Welcome to the Catholic Man Show. We're on the Lord's team, the winning side. So raise your glass. Just got done re-giving away our Father's Day giveaway because Katie decided not to respond.
It's pretty sad.
And so we had to give it away to Dominic. So Dominic, if you're listening, you won. So make sure you respond to our email or however we end up.
Yes.
I'm not sure how we're going to
We will be contacting you.
Yeah. Dave, guess what today is?
Today is Monday.
Today is Monday.
Yes.
June 22nd.
June 22nd, yes.
Which is my baptism day.
Ooh,
Baptism anniversary day.
Yeah.
34 years ago today, I entered the Catholic Church.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. So, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Also the feast of that British
St. Thomas
dude.
More.
Yeah, that British dude.
Yeah. And St. John Fisher.
And John Fisher, right.
Yeah. So,
is he British?
English. Yeah.
What's the difference?
Oh, man, don't do that. We don't want to... David Bates is going to get all upset.
Well, the English are British.
Yeah.
I mean, so are the Irish.
Okay, so what are we drinking tonight, Dave?
Today, We are drinking the Aberlour 16 year.
Okay.
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 It's a double cask matured.
Awesome. And it's a Highland?
Speyside.
Which is basically a Highland.
It's a Speyside. It's a Highland that like
It's basically
you want to charge more. Or
basically the
something.
same, about the same thing. We have Juan on the buttons tonight. Jim is in studio, so you guys cannot be rushing in. If you do, you will be met by Jim at least.
El Juan.
We're on the Lord's team.
For you, my friend. The winning side.
So raise your glass.
Cheers to Jesus.
Cheers. Cheers. Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers. Cheers.
So it's aged in two different casks, as I said here.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead and taste it, Adam. Tell me if you can guess what the casks are.
Okay. Just by the smell, I'm gonna say American bourbon barrel and
Okay.
Oloroso sherry cask.
I know it is a sherry cask. One of them is sherry. It says on here somewhere. American oak casks. It doesn't say. I don't know if they're bourbon casks or not. And then sherry oak casks. So I'm gonna give it to you. I'm gonna say that you got both of them.
Nice.
Well done, my friend.
yeah, it's
Not
very
a whole lot on the nose to me. I'm actually.
apricot. It's a very Highland style. And I know it's a Speyside, but it tastes like
Yeah,
a very
once again, what's the difference?
A Highland Scotch. Very apricot, honey, raisins.
Wow, yeah, a lot of apricot.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay, so it says sweet floral with spicy nuttiness on the nose.
Mm-hmm.
You're such a nutty guy.
Mm-hmm.
Full of nuttiness. The taste is sherried with floral spice, fruit, and oak. The finish is long, warm, and fruity with a little spice. And then it says the deed is in the tasting.
Isn't it always?
That's what they say.
I
what they say.
don't think it's a long finish. I would say it's a medium finish.
Let me see.
I also do catch a little bit of plum, which is probably from the sherry, would be my guess. But a little plum, ripe plum, if you will.
I think I would say it has a long finish. Not the longest finish I've ever had, but I would put it in the long category.
Okay.
So this was over more than $100.
Not worth it,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
I am going to agree with you. Not worth $100.
No.
I mean, I would be maybe satisfied at like $55 to $65 with this particular scotch.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think it's worth it at all.
You know, like there's just so many, there are good scotches and good Irish whiskey, good bourbon that you can get at that price range.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, like if you want to, if you're pushing 3 digits on the price, I really expect a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of scotches out there that I would take over this.
Yeah, totally.
Not that it's bad. It's not a bad scotch.
No, not at all.
But it's not something that
And
I would
it does
for.
have a lot of complexity. Like I like it's definitely very fruity. A lot of fruit. The apricot, like you said, I'm not sure. I don't know that I get any plum, but there's a lot of fruit notes in it.
Mm-hmm.
If you like that, you'll really like this. It is complex, but it's not. It's not just really blowing me away.
Okay, so in the vein of truthfulness, we need to do some
Is this a
recanting.
like a vanity thing?
No.
Okay.
The other day or the other episode, you mentioned about being the beans.
Be the beans.
Be the beans.
Yeah.
You referenced that, and then you said something like, "Because it only takes like 2 to 3 beans to make a cup of coffee."
Oh.
And
Well, I was being hyperbolic, or I was not intending to mean literally 2 or 3 beans.
Okay, because
I just meant like it's not that many.
it's like on average 70.
70 beans?
Yes, for 1 cup of coffee, on average.
Wow.
So
So when I make coffee, I do it with these really big beans.
So I just wanted to make sure that we made sure we said that.
Like the size of, like the really big white
Hazelnut.
like white grapes.
White grapes, yeah.
That's the size of the coffee beans that I'm usually dealing with.
Also, I wanted to say that
Just 2 or 3.
just 2 or 3, yeah. If you
70
recall,
coffee
70
beans?
70 on average.
Okay. The analogy still holds. Be the beans.
Right.
Okay.
It still holds, but it was watered down, if you will,
Yeah.
by only saying 2 to 3 beans.
Yeah, I definitely thought it was more than 2 or 3 beans.
Also, okay, so a few episodes back.
Also, Adam, it depends on how big of a cup of coffee you're making. Okay? If you have a small enough
A
cup,
thimble of
2
coffee.
or 3 beans will do the job.
So we talked about how I took Luke on a fishing trip, right?
Yeah.
Right when baby Davy was born.
Yeah.
And there was something that we did not discuss, which was Juan's setup that he had on his fishing pole. Which is something that needs to be discussed. So I tell Juan we're going fishing. You know, he's all excited. He's been fishing with his sons, a couple times at the ponds, things like that. And so he's all excited. He comes with his fishing pole in hand. Did you fish like just the other day before that with Santi? And yeah. So he shows up, and as we're preparing, we're
Pole still rigged.
Pole still rigged from last
Sure.
outing.
Which is standard. I mean, it's not uncommon at all.
Right. So before we got there, we said, let's get all of our rigs set up so that way when we're there, we can just start fishing.
Okay.
And so I look over at Juan's rig that he has set up, and here's what it is: a spinner.
Okay, like a beetle spin.
Like a beetle spin.
Yep.
Heavy weight. Swivel.
Okay.
That goes onto the main line.
Okay.
With a bobber. So when I saw
Why'd you put the swivel on there?
Gotta catch them all.
You gotta catch them all. That's right.
So when I see this, a spinner that's made to be moving to catch fish. I tell Juan that there's only one way you were going to catch a fish with this setup, and that's if a fish was just minding its own business, swimming down the river or pond, and accidentally just hits your lure and gets snagged.
Doesn't see it,
Doesn't
which is
see it.
unlikely because of the flashy spinner you have on this thing.
Well, that's not gonna matter because it's not moving.
But still,
it has a bobber.
It's in the water. It's gonna have some movement, and it's still gonna be reflective of something, right?
It's just it was just absolutely hilarious because I was like, Juan, have you caught anything on this? He's like, no, not yet. And I was like, wonder why. So,
but wasn't he putting a worm on it as well?
Yes, he was also putting live bait.
The thing is, it almost doesn't matter if you put a worm on a hook. Like, you could put whatever dress you want on it. You'll catch a fish, okay?
Yeah, or like a hot dog, you'll catch perch all day long with the hot dog.
Right.
So anyway, it was just hilarious to see because he came all ready to go with his fishing pole ready to go, and that was his setup.
Wow, that must have taken you a long time.
He had $20 worth of fishing lures, like fishing apparel on that, and he snagged it. He
did snag a fish, didn't he?
He snagged, like, we were going down the in a raft. We're going down the river, and like he was just kind of dragging, trolling.
Which one? That doesn't work in the river because
that's what I was telling. I was explaining this to him, and I said, like, listen,
you're moving the same speed as the water.
And I said, if this gets caught, like on the ground or on a limb or something like that, you're gonna lose your pole.
Right.
Because we're still going down the river.
Or if you hold on real tight, the line will break.
He wasn't holding onto the fishing pole. He was just letting it troll. And so I said, no, Juan, this is not going to work. And I told him.
That's what the bobber's for, bro.
Yeah, that's what the bobber's for. So as I sit there and told him, like 3 minutes later, I see him, I look back, and he's almost jumping out of the raft to get his pole because he got it snagged. And so I was like, push the button. He pushes the button, and like basically he loses another 100 feet.
Stop?
No, the river was moving.
This is a swift area.
Yeah, so he lost it before. I mean, probably his first cast. $20 probably worth of fishing lures and just stuff on it. So for his humility, I wanted to make sure to tell that story.
Yeah, we wanted to humble him.
Right. Because
he does look humble over there.
Because we're his best friend.
That's right.
So
and we love you.
Yeah. So anyway, when we get back, we're going to talk about a specific aspect of fortitude tonight, correct?
Yeah.
All right.
We're on the Lord's team. Wow. Wow.
I leave him hanging there.
Dude, our internet has been terrible. I mean, our cast is stream has been terrible tonight.
Going in and out.
It's been going in and out. Is it pretty bad?
No, but it's
It's going in and out. Yeah.
It does come back. That's like, I'm kind of surprised actually that it is able to
Come back.
like come back. Right.
Jeez.
Although we had like 45 viewers in the beginning, now we're down to 16.
Well, that's just because like if it's a bad
And then
quality,
there were 16.
If it's a bad quality, if it's not doing well, then I wouldn't watch either.
Jim, do you tag Margot and make sure she's like alive or something?
yeah.
See, well, she listens to the Daily Wire on Monday nights, so we.
Jesus or politics? Jesus or politics? Hard to choose. Hard to choose. Politics bad. Jesus good. Not gonna that. Not gonna that.
You should have saved the giveaway.
That's my Dana Carvey impression of George Bush Sr.
Tyler goes #loyalty.
Yeah.
Stay loyal.
All right, let's keep rolling. Hopefully the stream will get better as the.
Do we have a mic here or is it just?
We do.
Yeah.
Indubitably. Welcome back to the Catholic Man Show. I'm David Niles. Here with Adam Minahan, Jimbo Baggins, and Juan Posada in the house today as well. So I have good news.
Oh, good. I need some.
In the last 3 days, I have killed 2 moles.
Nice.
Yeah. Two of those destructive rodents no longer breathe upon this earth.
Nice.
Thanks to yours truly.
So when you were watering your grass the other night, and you have the little tractor,
Yeah. Dude, and I really upgraded that tractor thing.
dude, that thing it looks nice.
It is legit.
So the other
It
night,
can pull over 200 feet of hose.
yeah. So the other night I was watching. I was like walking around, and I saw that you had laid it out, and I went over there and I moved the hose way over.
That
there.
was you who did that?
And so it was like going right into your air conditioner, and then you went back and you moved it back, and then I went back again and moved it again.
Well, you moved the hose too close to it couldn't go through the door, and
I
so
know.
the blades, like the spinning things, got stuck. It was like that for like an hour.
I know. I've been waiting to tell you this.
You owe me like $20 of wasted water. My water bill is gonna be $20 higher because of you.
I was like cracking up, like just randomly at my house, just knowing like
I
you
only
were
fixed it one time though.
Oh, what? I messed with it twice. I waited till you, because we were walking, Haley and I were walking around the neighborhood. I think we were praying in the rosary, doing a prayer walk or whatever. And
You're praying the rosary, destroying people's sprinklers.
well, it was a
Must have been a
counterbalance.
productive. Because you need to be counterbalanced. Is this like a gray Jedi thing?
Anyway,
don't come at me with the gray Jedi. The gray Jedi are evil.
I would be like
okay?
sitting there in my living room, and we were like doing something else, and like I would crack up just thinking about you walking outside, being like, "What the heck? Why did that happen?" And
Yeah, well, I thought like, was it just like super twisted? And as it had more slack, it was able to like untwist. You know what I mean?
right.
Well, you know what? You had to get wet in order to do that.
Oh, dude, it was so worth it.
Yeah.
It was
okay.
It was very much worth it just for my.
Don't do that again, because the copter thing, it spins fast, and when it hits the wall, it could get dented and stuff. If you dent it, you're gonna have to fix it.
I just thought it was funny.
Okay. Well, I'm glad. Hey, Adam, I'm glad you enjoyed it.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was well worth it. Okay. Tonight, what are we talking about tonight?
Well, before we get into the topic,
Well,
we're gonna be talking about martyrdom and prudence.
You mean fortitude?
Well, martyrdom would be a sub virtue of fortitude.
Fortitude, yeah.
Yeah. So we're talking about specifically martyrdom
Okay.
and prudence.
Okay.
When should one go boldly seek the greatest glory in this life, to lay it down for Jesus, or when should one say, you know what, I need to like, this isn't worth it. I have kids, got a wife,
Okay.
people who need me, that kind
This
of
will
thing.
be interesting.
Yeah. But before we do that, I want
Or
to
at least
talk
for
about.
me. For me, it'll be interesting.
Well, good. That'll be at least one.
Yeah.
So, but before we do that, I want to talk about something else that also has to do with kind of preparing for your death. Okay, so this is something that I think is important to do. And if people are about our age, it's like you're kind of starting to get your life together. And Adam, do you have a will? Like, have you gone to an attorney?
No.
Yeah. Okay. So, like, it's something that you should do at some point.
Mm-hmm.
You could have a trust drawn up. A trust is like just a big fancy will. There's not really a reason for you to get a trust, like a real reason. It used to be like, oh, if you have a lot of money,
Don't have to worry about
and
that.
you're gonna, like, let's say you're going to leave behind like $50 million. The government will take half of everything over $10 million that belongs to your estate. The estate taxes are the most immoral tax, I think, that there is. Like, what right does the government have to take half your stuff just because you
They've
died?
already taxed.
It's already taxed.
They've already taxed it.
Taxes are evil. I'm just going to say that. Anyway, you should have a will because, you want there to be peace in your household when you die. You don't want your death to cause chaos among your beneficiaries. So, also, your will is the things that will safeguard your children. That's what's going to say who's going to take your kids if you and your spouse die. And so it is something that, as a good parent, that you should do in order to just plan for the unfortunate. But
We're fortunate.
depends on how big your life insurance policy is.
I was thinking more like whether or not you go to heaven or hell.
Oh yeah. But it would be unfortunate. An early death, I think, is generally considered unfortunate. It's like, oh, that's sad. Anyway,
For the people here still on Earth.
yeah.
As long as you don't die in the state of mortal sin.
But when you're
unrepentant.
there talking to your attorney, and hopefully you go to a Catholic attorney, because if you don't go to a Catholic attorney, I'm not sure that this would end up as well. You need to get an advance medical directive. Okay? And
Why don't you explain to them
an
what it
advance,
meant? I mean, not that I don't
right?
know, but
Because you know.
yeah, but for
Okay,
them.
now explain it.
Explain it to me like I'm 5.
Explain it like I'm 5. Okay, so an advance medical directive just appoints someone to make decisions for you, or says how decisions are to be made, maybe what decisions are to be made in certain circumstances. If you're in a coma, what do they do? If you are on a ventilator, do you want to be put on a ventilator? And so what it does is it gets something legal in writing that says, I am to be treated and cared for according to Catholic principles. Okay,
I think that's the main. That's
the main thing, and
Okay.
it's important that. So what Pamela and I did is we named her brother, Father Sean O'Brien, I forget what the name is. Anyway, if we're both, so if I'm incapacitated or something, Pamela makes the decisions. If both of us are, then he makes all of our decisions. So he has a licentiate degree in bioethics.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
So it's like. He was a pretty obvious choice. And also, you should talk to if you're going to name somebody, it's like your dude.
Father Brian, by the way.
Like, hey, he named you to make all his health decisions. He did?
I don't even like him.
He's going to be in a coma for the next 50 years. We'll need you to make weekly visits. Right? So you should talk to the person first. But there used to be a time when doctors it was like part of going to medical school that you had training in ethics, and they still do. They still get training in ethics, but the ethics according to society today are so watered down. Just the notion of do no harm. That's like the creed of a doctor, right? And yet we have physician-assisted suicide.
Right.
Okay.
I know.
We have abortions. Doctors doing abortion. So it's like the culture is not going to safeguard your life the way it used to and the way it should.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so especially if you're getting your will done, which you should do that.
Yeah. How much does it cost? Do you know? Is it a couple
depends.
$100 or
No, it's going to be a couple $1,000 probably.
$2,000?
Could be.
Oh, no, I'm not.
Yeah,
doing
I mean, it could be like
I'm not doing
it could be as much as $3,000 depending on the attorney you go to.
Okay.
If you go to a small attorney who
How are you supposed to be able to do that? You're supposed to be able to throw a couple grand on it on something that's like,
it's important. Yeah.
golly.
Or you could go to, I don't know, LegalZoom.com and probably get it done for a couple hundred.
I mean,
but
we're not sponsored by them, but
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I've never done that. So I had a attorney, Sarah Reddy, do ours, and she was reasonable on the price. So, and I didn't know anything about the advanced medical directive stuff when I went to see her, and she's the one who told me about it. This is years ago when Pamela and I were getting married. So it is important, and it's something that you need to update. Like, we need to update ours because we just had a baby, and David Jr.'s not in any of the stuff.
I think it's just really important because of the aspect of when money is put into the equation, it can get very hairy, right?
Right.
Everybody has expectations of like, well, I assumed this was going to be mine or this was going to be mine. And if you don't lay it down like here in black and white, this is what I'm expecting whenever I
Right.
pass away. I think that's where the prudence comes into play as far as like, I expect this to be done for the sake of my family. So that way we're keeping the peace. Everybody is on the same page.
Yeah, no, I agree. And also, it's just preparing for your inevitable death.
Right. Because that's something we're all going to do.
Yeah, and it's something that a lot of people are uncomfortable doing. They don't like acknowledging it because some people, it freaks them out, especially if more secular people, because if you're not oriented, if your kind of mindset isn't oriented towards heaven, then this life is all you got. That's kind of your attitude. And so the thinking about death is a scary thing because that's like the ultimate evil for those people.
For a Christian, like our whole life leads up to
We
death.
should- like,
that is like what we're here.
Look forward to it.
Right. Which is a different mind frame than, like you said, like the
Right.
secular culture. So like it is different.
It is natural to abhor death because death was not originally part of the plan. Death is a result of sin, and so death is not good. There's something not good about it. That's one of the things that makes a body kind of horrifying, is because we are body-soul composites. The body and the soul are supposed to be together. And now when we see a dead body, it's like, here's a body without a soul. We weren't created as a soul, and then God said, let me get a shell to put this in. No, we're supposed to be together, So death is an abhorrent thing. And in the resurrection of the body, we'll be gloriously reunited, soul and body.
awesome.
It's going to be awesome. I cannot wait
I've been living my whole
to
life
walk
for it.
through all the walls.
All right. So when we get back, we're going to talk about martyrdom. Is that what we're going to do?
Yes.
All right. Looking forward to it. We'll be right back.
We're on the Lord's team.
The winning side.
So raise your glass.
What are you doing, Juan?
He wants Joseph to reign.
Okay. I could have just like done it. Just look right here. Boom. There we go. We're good. I think that the stream has gotten stronger as we've gone. Is that correct?
Strong.
Strong. Or like
Strong.
Carla Broussard. Strong.
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 Caging, uncaging the truth.
Yes. I really hope that catches on.
It's not.
It's not going to.
It would have already.
Well, we're gonna have him back out, and
It's been out there a while.
we're gonna have him back on at some point.
Yeah, I would love to.
He's coming out with a new book on Purgatory, which I was talking to Juan, like, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, where I was like really wanting to have a conversation with somebody on the show about Purgatory, and he's writing a book on it that'll
sweet.
be out in the fall, and he's open to flying out here to talk about it. So
Sweet.
we're gonna try to do that.
He should just move here.
Yeah, I think he'd be.
It
Well,
seems like California
Louisiana-
is the worst. I mean, aside
The
from the perfect
weather.
weather
Yeah.
and like the beautiful landscape, Other than that, it seems pretty terrible.
All right, let's keep going before we alienate all of our California listeners.
Right.
Welcome back to the Catholic Man Show. Sipping a little Aberlour 16.
A really good scotch, not worth the price.
Yeah, I agree. So, Dave, you wanted to talk today about the correlation between prudence and an aspect of fortitude, specifically martyrdom.
Right.
And I was trying to get some information about this episode ahead of time because that's what I like to do. And like what you like to do is not do that. And so I don't know.
You and I prepare in drastically different ways.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
So I don't know really what you have in store this evening. But
Okay, so I was just kind of thinking about the truth. Oh, man, what's the name of that movie? I looked it up, too. The movie about the dude, he's in Austria, and they arrest him because he won't take this oath of allegiance to Hitler. Jim knows it. Jim, will you Google that? Google.
The Sound of Music.
The Sound of Music. That's it. There's like this guy, Blessed von Trapp, something like that. Yeah. Anyway.
Dude, he's joking with you. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's same like time period one, but different movie. Anyway, so in this movie, they come and they're like, oh yeah, you have to, he's an Austrian, you know, so Austria they were in league, they were allies with the Germans. And so like he was drafted into the war and they said, you have to take this oath of allegiance to Hitler, and he wouldn't do it. So they arrested him.
Okay.
And it was like such a little, like they ended up, throughout the movie, they kind of like water it down.
A Hidden Life?
A Hidden Life, thank you.
Joe Q even told us about that, or told me about that today. A Hidden Life.
Oh, really?
It's like from 2019. It's
Yeah,
a newer
it
movie.
came out last year.
Yeah.
Like during Lent or something.
Okay.
It was in theaters.
A Hidden Life.
I cannot recommend this movie enough.
Good, because I watched another terrible movie.
Oh no,
this week.
you will like this movie. Very little dialogue, actually. In fact, most of the movie is completely silent. It's just you see people and gorgeous landscapes. I don't want to spend too much time talking about this movie, but anyway, he's arrested, and throughout the movie they kind of water it down. Like, okay, well, if you just sign this, you don't have to mean it. Just say it. Just say the words. Don't mean, but mentally reserve. Don't mean what you say. Mm-hmm. And at some point, there's this attorney was assigned to him, mm-hmm. and he's trying to get him out of jail. Like he doesn't want him to die because and the guy knows that they're going to kill him. They're going to kill me if I don't. Eventually, they're going to kill me. And the attorney says, like, look, just sign this, and you'll be free. And he smiles and looks at his attorney and says, I already am free. Mm-hmm. And went back to his prison cell. And it was just like a very powerful line because, here he is, he's getting beaten regularly, all of this suffering. But this attorney says, you'll be free. And he's like, no, I'm the only free guy here. Everybody else has taken this oath of allegiance to Hitler. You're a slave.
So that reminds me of, it's the Feast of St. Thomas More today.
Yes, and who's a big guy on courage, you know?
And Alphonsus Liguori, St. Alphonsus Liguori talks about Thomas More here where he and his wife, St. Thomas More and his wife are having a dialogue, and the wife is saying, like, just recant what you were saying. Like, and he goes, well, how long do you think I have to live? And she goes, I don't know. He goes, I'm an older guy. How long do you think I have to live? And she goes, you could live for another 20 years. And he goes, 20 years to give like for eternity? That's ridiculous. That's a terrible deal.
Right.
And so he's talking about like I would never do that because I'm giving up eternity for 20 years. Best case scenario.
Yeah, best case.
So that kind of reminded me of that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it's the same sort of thing. And I was just thinking about what started this all for me was I was just thinking about the truth and how important the truth is. And just a little piece of the truth, like, what if someone comes up to you and, it's all of these scenarios that they're all hypothetical, probably never going to happen, but, it's the classic gun to your head, either deny the creed or I'll kill you.
Right.
Okay? So I don't want to get into if you're culpable or not in the, what's your culpability, because obviously someone puts a gun to your head, you're going to be emotional,
Wait, and you can't read
you might
souls?
not, and you might not have, well, just like apply this to yourself. You might not have like rational, your full rational capacity. Okay.
Right.
So
Adrenaline's kicking in.
So if you did deny the creed in that moment, I don't want to talk about whether or not you're culpable for this. However, it would be grave matter, okay? But the church actually is asking and telling and saying you should die. Mm-hmm. You should lay down your life. Even it's like, because part of me says, why do I, like, who's this guy? Just because some idiot comes up to me with a gun and says, deny the creed or I'll kill you. It's like, I have to die now because this Yahoo, like, wants to, put this ultimatum to me all of a sudden, like, leave me alone. I'm not talking to you. No, you don't have to answer even in the hypothetical situation. You could do nothing, but that's not part of the hypothetical choices.
No hablo inglés.
Right, exactly.
No sé.
No comprende.
Yeah.
And then he says it in Spanish.
And you're like,
what?
Yeah. I don't speak German.
Right. So, and then I was thinking about, like, well, what if it's the tiniest particle of the creed? Is it worth throwing your life away? And it's like, well, I was thinking about this, and ultimately, yes, you have to. You cannot deny, certainly not a dogma of the church. That would be denying the faith. Mm-hmm. Okay? And so Jesus, actually, he talks about this a lot in the Gospels. In Matthew 10:33, he says, whoever denies me before others, I will deny before my heavenly Father.
Which is not a position you want to be in.
Right. You don't want to do that. In Revelation 2, verse 10, he says, be faithful unto death. So mm-hmm. he's saying that to one of the churches. I don't remember exactly which one, but he's still saying it, unto death. Okay. So you should be willing and ready to die. And for me, this is like one of those things that if I haven't thought about it ahead of time, mm-hmm. if that crazy moment did occur, I don't know what I would do. But if I have made, I've made that decision and I've kind of accepted it and decided, no, I am willing to die for my faith. Okay. The big hurdle for me is emotionally, what happens to my kids? What happens to my wife?
Right.
Is it worth me dying? And it's like, well, I'm going to leave them fatherless. Mm-hmm. So what are your thoughts about that?
Okay, so the first thoughts that I had were, this is why it's so important to live a virtuous life, because even when
just to be ready,
well, because
or to have the strength to make the right decision.
To have the strength to make the right decision, because some of the early church fathers talks about how there were when early persecution of the Christians were happening, there were people who were deciding that I'm going to go to Rome or wherever it was to be a martyr, to stand up.
Hey, let's go get ourselves martyred.
Yeah, basically that was kind of the idea. And God did not give them the grace to persevere in that decision.
Because martyrdom is a gift and a grace.
Right, and the reason why is because they had not, they were not virtuous. They had not built up the virtue of fortitude or prudence.
And that was more like suicide than it was martyrdom, because they were just going to get killed.
Well, okay, so maybe even a better example would be even Father Stanley Rother, who was going back. He went back to Guatemala knowing
totally different.
Yeah, knowing that there was going to be persecution.
It's the principle of double effect.
Mm-hmm.
Like even St. Peter, he was walking into Rome knowing he was about to get martyred, but he wasn't going so that he might get martyred.
Right.
He was going so that he might do God's will, preach to the evangelize. He knew God had a mission for him there, and that when he went there, he would also be martyred. Sort of like Stanley Rother. Stanley Rother didn't say, you know what, I want to go get myself killed. He said, you know what, I can't leave my flock.
Right. As a shepherd,
and
I can't.
Even though I know that there will be a double effect of my decision, I don't intend that effect, but I know it will happen all the same. So
or
because
at least there's a good chance.
that's
that
important
happening.
because
Sure.
as Catholics, we value life. Life is valuable, okay? And we don't throw it away.
Right.
However, we are willing and ready to lay it down out of love for Christ. So there's a big difference. And if that's what you're called to, this is a grace. We should not shrink from it, because this is the highest form of glory, the best death that you could ever give to our Lord. Okay? Christ is glorified more in the martyrs of the saints than, in other that's it. You get the crown, a martyr's crown in heaven, So he glorifies these people in a special way, because it does take so much love in order to do it well. So
I mean, even in John 15, when they're talking about, no greater love is this than to lay down your life for your friend.
Right.
And that's what Jesus is telling his apostles right before he goes out and dies. And it's the same aspect.
Exactly.
I mean,
yeah, that's the context.
yeah, that's the context.
So one time I was driving, and
Really?
yeah, I do that sometimes. And the car in front of me stopped short, and so I had to kind of, stop short as well, stop quickly. And I kind of had that, like a flash of, oh my gosh, what if I had died right there? And I had that same thought, oh my kids would, they wouldn't have a father. My wife would be a widow. She's a stay-at-home mom. What, God, what would happen? And it started to almost get sick to my stomach just thinking about it. And that's when I realized, and I think I've mentioned this before on the show, God is their father. I am their earthly father, but God is their real father. He uses me to take care of them, but God is the one actually taking care of my children, not me. If he's taking care of them now, he'll take care of them later. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that just gave me a lot of peace. And let's talk about that a little bit more after the break.
Okay. We'll be right back.
Yeah, very good. We're going to talk about the Japanese martyr. Then, you
I
remember
thought
the
about
story
it. The Silence, the movie.
No, the guy that was addicted to drugs, and
Oh.
he knew he couldn't.
Oh yeah, so he wanted to be martyred. Yeah,
And he prayed for the grace of
he prayed for the
martyrdom,
grace. Yeah,
that he wasn't going to
Let me do it for you.
he wasn't going to be able to stop.
serve it.
He was addicted to opioids or something. Yeah, or opium.
I didn't hear about that until Jason Everett talked about it. That was the first time I'd ever heard that story.
Just a skosh.
That's when I heard it too.
That was probably when I heard of it.
All right, let's keep rolling. Let's keep.
Rolling.
Pretty generous poor, bro. You're trying to get rid of it.
Sorry. Well, I would rather you be calling me generous than stingy.
Never. That would
I don't want to be
lie.
stingy.
That would be a lie. Alright.
Let's keep rolling.
Uno más.
That means one more.
If you have a point, don't
You
In
serious?
Spanish.
You serious, Clark?
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was El Uno Mas.
don't, David.
Welcome back to the Catholic Man Show. I am Don David. Here with Adam Minahan. We're talking about martyrdom and prudence. So I was just mentioning about, this. It occurred to me that God is really the one taking care of my children.
Through you.
Like, if there's food on the table, it's because he put it there. I'm simply the instrument that he uses to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But he wants food on the table. If I wasn't there, he would still put food on the table. He uses our own cooperation to achieve all things, but he's God, he'll make it happen, And so I was just thinking about that, and because that for me would be the biggest hesitation to stop me.
Right.
My biggest temptation to deny the faith would be because of my love for my children.
Mm-hmm.
And so just having knowing that, having that comfort that, it's like, it's not me anyway. It's, our Heavenly Father is going to keep taking care of my children, especially if it's because I laid down my life as a martyr.
Right.
How much more is he going to take? I mean, my wife and kids would probably end up with a much better father and husband anyway. You
That's
know?
true. Well, it would
I mean,
be tough.
it wouldn't
but-
be that hard.
right.
So, you know, like if it is the creed, any part of the thing that the faith holds to be true, we actually are called and ready to lay down our lives. But then I was thinking about other situations. Okay, so Adam, let's say you're praying outside of the abortion clinic.
Mm-hmm.
Guy comes up with a gun, says, "Leave now or I'll kill you." What do you do?
I leave.
I think I would leave too. But it also would be heroic to stay. I mean, so
It could be imprudent to stay.
no, I don't think it would be imprudent to stay. It could be, but I don't know that it would. I mean, I think in that situation it's heroic. It's certainly the church is not going to require you or ask you to do that. But if you stay, and he kills you, you are a martyr. You were killed because of hatred for the faith. You were out praying in front of the abortion clinic, and the guy says, "You have to stop praying, or I'm going to kill you." I mean, so once again, martyrdom is the greatest gift that you can give to our Lord.
Mm-hmm.
And so we shouldn't necessarily be like running away from it. Now,
No.
there is a point where it's something. It's like, you know what? This is not the hill I'm willing. I feel called to die on, literally. You know, and so I think that's important to know. What is that line? Because it's so different. It could be different for everybody. Like if I was single, I think it would be a much different line. You know, like
Sure.
yeah, dying at the abortion clinic, that would be awesome. Kind of. I mean, like in the right. You have to understand me the right way.
Okay.
It would be awesome in heaven. You know,
Sure.
like you get to heaven and be like, "Dave, I haven't seen you in a while. That was epic.
Mm-hmm.
What you did.
Float over here. Float
Right,
over
yeah,
here.
float over here with me."
Come check this out.
Okay.
Okay. What's another scenario?
Okay. So let's say.
Because I would have said I would walk away. Like if he says, like I'm gonna kill you or you walk away, it's like I don't have an obligation to be here to our Lord. Like our Lord has not
Right.
commanded
Yeah.
me to
There's
be
no
here.
obligation to be there. Right.
He's not saying that I have to deny what I believe. Like all he's saying is all you gotta do is walk away. I'm walking away.
Okay. Your children are kidnapped,
Okay.
and
Oh man.
the kidnapper says, "If you go to mass this Sunday, I'm going to kill your children."
Okay. Man, that's a bummer. What a terrible situation that is. I'm going to mass. I mean, obviously
In a non COVID-19 scenario, because right now they're because if it's this Sunday, I'm not going. Right,
Yeah.
the bishop's given a dispensation anyway. You know.
Yeah. I mean, so there's plenty. You know, in the Old Testament, with the mom who has to sit there and watch her 9 sons all die
Right.
for the faith. And
Right.
what does she do? She sits there and prays that they hold fast to the truth and
Right.
don't deny it. Don't deny our Lord. So I mean, you have to go off of what the great saints before us have paved the way.
Exactly.
And I would hate it, but there would be great. That's the beauty of the Christian life, is that there's great consolation, there's great comfort in knowing that even in that situation, your kids will be in triumphantly in heaven and praying for you and praying that you receive the graces needed to deal with the situation here on earth.
And I would also like to do another episode on the, like, I don't know what you call it, the mechanics of morality. Because a lot of people will say, if you go to mass, you're killing your children. It's your, you know,
No.
and it's like, no, actually, the death of my children is in no way my fault.
This is almost like the just war theory.
Kind of. I mean, like,
I mean, it has to do with justice and like.
it's like, I went to mass and then that guy killed my children. I didn't kill my children. You know, it's kind of like the whole you're hiding Nazis in your basement thing.
No, Jewish people.
You're hiding Jews in your... Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I'm hiding the Nazis so that the
Yeah.
Jews don't get them.
Yeah.
Right? No. I mean, it's like people say, if you tell that Nazi you have Jews in your basement, you're getting all those Jews killed. It's like, no, you're not.
Right.
Actually, the Nazi is killing all the Jews, not me. I was trying to save them.
Right.
But, okay, so like the harder ones, the much more difficult situations, I think is when death isn't on the line. Okay, so for me, it's almost easier to do big things for God, right? Grand statements.
Sure.
It's the little things.
Magnanimous statements.
Yes. It's, are you willing to endure social persecution in the office for the truth. Okay, whether even take religious truth out of it, because all truth. If a man dies for a truth, he has died for a good cause. Because, whether it doesn't, we should never be, living in accordance with the lie. So pick a truth. I mean, if you die because it's like, no, I won't say that. I won't say that about this other person, or I won't go along with whatever it is, LGBT agenda, or pick a truth, you name it. Mm-hmm. If you die for it, that is a good death. Now, that's where prudence comes in. But we can never, ever, ever go along with a lie.
No.
Okay? There is nothing, no matter the consequences, we are called to truth.
Well, and once we realize as Christians that truth is a person,
right?
That truth is God incarnate, and that He is, by standing up for the truth, you're standing up for Jesus. That makes the situation, the scenarios easier to figure out how you handle them.
Right. And it's also why it's important, like you said already, to live a life steeped in virtue, so that you're ready and the right from the wrong very well, accompanied with a real prayer life. Because you can know right and wrong, but if you don't know how to be gentle about it,
or meek
would
probably be the
I mean, because especially like, let's just take the LGBTQ, oh hey, it's Pride Week. Everybody's wearing the pride buttons today in the office. Mm-hmm. Well, will you wear one? Mm-hmm. Like, don't put on the pride button. You can't. Wearing the pride button is a lie. You should not wear the pride button. And you might say, well, it's going to get me fired.
Yeah, it's a tough. I mean, that's tough.
See, this is where it gets harder.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like, well, I'm just wearing the button.
You're not being persecuted, and you're not having
And it's like,
it's drawn out.
I'm not promoting it. I'm just everybody's wearing the button. I'm not going to scandalize anybody because just everybody's doing it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
But ultimately, when it comes
these
down
are
to
the harder
scenario,
decisions.
I love the people who experience same-sex attraction enough to tell them that, no, I'm not standing up for this.
Mm-hmm.
It's because your dignity as a person is not engulfed in your attractions to one.
Well, the Pride Week has
another.
nothing to do with the dignity of people who experience same-sex attraction. It's just about sodomy and validating and justifying sodomy. That's what Pride Week is about. Pride Month, the whole Pride movement. It's just about justifying sodomy.
We care as Catholics. We care about
talking about the dignity of people who experience same-sex attraction is something totally different.
Right.
Okay. But the truth is, yes, even if I'll be fired for this, I think it's still the right thing to do. Mm-hmm. Very hard decision. And once again, we're not getting heroic. Well, in this case, I'm not sure. I think
sure it is.
It's what you're called to. I guess martyrdom itself would be heroic, but it's still sometimes what we're asked. It's what's necessary. So we're not getting into the culpability,
right?
Because I'm sure there are people listening to this who have been in that position who wore the button.
Sure.
And
in this analogy,
we're not judging those decisions. We're just talking about what's right and wrong.
Juan is judging, but we're not.
Juan is a very judgmental person.
Yeah, but that's okay.
Actually, it's the turtle tattoo on his back that's really the judger.
Okay, gotcha.
Juan just can't get away from him.
Gotcha.
So what about you? Have you had any difficult scenarios lately anyway?
I mean, the one that I always seem to get is about, why don't you guys use birth control? I mean, that's just the one that happens in my office all the time. It's okay, you have 4 kids, you guys are going to start using birth control, or you're going to get a vasectomy, right? Right. And we've talked about this on the episode recently, Responsible Parenthood. It's there's 2 ways to really handle this. You can kind of say just no and just be quiet about it, or you can kind of stand up and say no, and here's the reason why, and you can use this opportunity to to tell them about your faith. Right. The
Socratic method works really, really well. I mean, if it's someone it's well, are you guys going to use birth control? Well, why would I do that? and then they're going to give you some answers like, oh, well, why is that important? You know what I mean?
I do think, though, I think you're right. I think a lot of times it's easier to do the big things for God than it is the little things, and that's why I think, one of the doctors of the church is St. Therese of Lisieux. She's all about doing the little things for Christ.
Right.
And how difficult that is to do the mundane things in ordinary life, to die to yourself for the greater glory of God, than just say, like, yeah, take me right now. You know? So I think that is tough.
And those who embrace the arduous, the difficult, God always has bigger gifts waiting in store for them.
Yeah. Don't be effeminate.
We're on the Lord's team.
The winning side.
So raise your glass. A lot of difficult stuff.
Sure. I mean,
Well, I don't know. Do we have any questions?
probably not. We probably...
Freaked everybody out.
I don't know. I do think that it is, like you were talking about. It's good to figure out like scenarios that you could be put in, but you could also what if yourself to death. To the point of like what if this hypothetical situation and this hypothetical situation.
A lot of it for me is just having decided already. No, I'm willing to take the consequences of standing up for the truth. Mm-hmm. No matter what they are. It doesn't matter.
This is something, okay, so this is something that's going to upset people, but that's okay. There's a lot of people out there that'll say, willing to die for my faith, and especially the strong, traditional sector of Catholicism.
Yeah.
But yet they have anonymous accounts on Twitter, that you have no way of correlating this person with this account.
Right. And they're not trying to be funny. It's not like they're...
Right. It's not like a...
they're from that... Whoever from the parish council. What's her name?
Susan.
That? Susan from the parish council. I mean, like...
Right. No.
That's a funny account, okay?
But
they're just doing it so they can be themselves without any of the consequences.
And they'll say, like, well, I don't want to get fired from my job for this.
Okay, yeah.
And I'm
you lack virtue.
Well, and I just like when I hear this aspect, because they're typically like die for your faith in all aspects,
right? But then, you don't want to.
But then when it comes to just naming yourself on Twitter, I don't want to do that because I could lose my job. And it's like, okay, there's a gap here that I'm not correlating, and I'm not here to pick on. That's not my. But I just find that as an observation that's very interesting.
Yeah, that is a really funny observation. And you know what? Chances are they've never thought that has never occurred to them. Right. That they're like a living hypocrisy if that's what they're doing. Saying die for your faith on this anonymous Twitter account.
Right? Because I don't want my work to come back and know that I have a Catholic stance.
Right. And I
things.
think if many of them realize that, they might close the anonymous account. Or. It's hypocrisy. We have to be a voice, and if that voice is an anonymous voice, then it doesn't matter. Nobody cares.
Well, ultimately, it's that you don't want to take responsibility for the actions that you
right. And it's like
portray.
You can say something, but if there's no credibility behind it, if there's no testimony, if there's not a person behind it saying it, then you just nobody.
Yeah.
Literally, you're nobody.
So I think that's interesting. I think that is a interesting aspect of the Twitterverse.
Yeah, and it's a lot of it is, if I got fired from my job for this, what's that going to change? It's not going to change the culture. I'm just one person, but it doesn't matter. I mean, okay, if you're going to get fired from your job, maybe don't say it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying don't evangelize, but like, do you really need to be evangelizing on Twitter? Like, are you really bringing souls to Christ on Twitter? Your Twitter account is bringing souls to Christ. My own, like, the older I've gotten, the more I've thought about this, the more I'm convinced that if you want to evangelize people, the only people you can evangelize are the ones that you have a relationship with. like, I'm not saying that there's not somebody on social media somewhere who wasn't converted because of a Facebook post they saw. I'm sure that's happened, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But that is a rare phenomenon. And God wanted to convert this person clearly. He would have found another way to do it, okay? In fact, maybe God's up there saying, man, I wish people would have more personal relationships so I could convert this guy. Instead, I had to, like, really reach... and I, was able to finally, I guess I could use a Facebook post. I've been trying to have somebody in this guy's life, but so-and-so won't get off the Facebook page, so I guess I'll just have to do something else. You know what I mean? So, like, conversion takes place because of relationships. That's what I think. And so, like, I get so fed up with that. Oh, this is my ministry. It's like, no, it isn't. It's not. I mean... I know I'm speaking in such general terms, like there are always exceptions for everything, but for the average person out there, that's not your ministry. It's just not. Not that we shouldn't have a presence online. I mean, we should have a Christian presence everywhere. Okay, but for people to say this is where I'm investing my time, I just think that they're fooling themselves and they're using it as an excuse, especially when it's an anonymous account. It's like, no, actually, you should probably be working on developing real relationships, not fake ones, like are on social media. Because in general...
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with that, but I see what you're saying.
In general, everything on social media is fake. It's not like, oh, you're friends. You're not friends with any of those people, except for like maybe 5, and they're the people that you go drink with, they're people that you actually see in your real life, not your fake life online.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, social media is just not real. It's not that there's nothing good about it. That's not what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
But it's fake. And so the stuff that happens on there is also very often fake. Evangelization just does not work very well online.
No, I agree. I agree. I think it's very tough to evangelize online.
It's tough to evangelize at all.
At all, yeah. And think about, so I was thinking about this the other day. So, and I asked Thomas Lackey, one of our super smart friends who we've had on the show, about this, and I wanted him to pick holes in it, and he did a little bit, but not to the point where I don't feel like comfortable enough to talk about it. But I was thinking, I've been reading Pieper a lot recently. In fact, I'm sorry. Shocker. I'm gonna let you guys know, like, the next few episodes that I do will be on things that I've read about Pieper recently. So,
okay.
But obviously he wrote the Leisure is the Basis of Culture, and he's the 4 cardinal virtues, and abuse of language, abuse of power, abuse of language, and a couple others that he has one on festivities, and I just ordered the book. Can't wait to read it. And we're going to definitely do an episode on it. Anyway.
Yeah, that one would be good.
So I came to, like, had this idea of, okay, so leisure, you have to have, like, leisure will bring in contemplation. Contemplation brings on gratitude. Gratitude brings on true charity. And true charity brings on evangelization.
Okay.
Now, each one's not sufficient enough for the other ones. I'm not saying like this is a sufficient cause, but I'm saying that this is something that begets the next. Right. So in order to have this true charity, you need to have this true contemplation, because you have to think about the things that you care about and have this idea of, like, I'm not the only one in this universe, or the universe doesn't revolve around me. And like these ideas of, some of the biggest philosophers of our time have these massive conversions to Christianity because they've sat and thought, they've contemplated about specific aspects of life in general. And in order to do that, you have to take time to have leisure, like a leisurely life. And so a lot of times I think that leisure, contemplation leads to gratitude. It's like, wow, this is such a beautiful life. This is such a beautiful world. We're here, and we're instead of not here. Gratitude brings on charity. It's like, oh, I'm so grateful. This is something that I love. Life is a good thing. Right. I love life. And then by loving life, you know that you are created and not the creator. And so it points you towards Christ, and the only way that you can evangelize other people is your interpersonal relationship with Christ and the love that you have for him. Then it exudes almost out naturally to evangelization. Like, evangelization a lot of times isn't a natural thing. It's not like, there's some guys that will walk into the room and you're like, you read the life of Christ. Like, I can just tell by the way you carry yourself, you are a man of God. And then there's other guys that are like, they get up on stage and they're Catholic speakers and they're like, bah, 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 bah. And then it's like, wow, you're totally different in real life than you are on stage. Not that that's necessarily a bad thing, but I mean, like, there's some counterfeit aspects of that, I think. And so it's hard to evangelize in that aspect. And so, like, I've just been thinking about this and the relationship of, like, if you really want to evangelize, if you really want to be authentically evangelizing, like authentically trying to evangelize your neighbors, and by neighbors, I don't mean just this random person. I'm talking about, like, actually your neighbors, the people who live across the street from you. The people that you sit next to in a pew, the people that are next to you in your office, your real neighbors that are next to you. In order to, like, have this authentic evangelization, it all starts with leisure. It all starts with taking the time to silence yourself, to enjoy, the time that God has given you. And who gave it to you? Well, in order to do that, you have to contemplate it. In order to do that, you're grateful, and then it leads to love, and then the love is a natural thing that brings out. So anyway, I have no idea why I brought that up, other than the fact that that's just what I've been thinking about.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you want to evangelize somebody, you have to give them yourself.
Yes.
You have to. That's why I don't think it works on Facebook or Twitter, because your life on
that we're talking about
your life on social media is not your real life. You only post good pictures of yourself on Facebook. You don't post the real you on social media.
Do you have bad pictures of yourself? I mean, this is a legitimate question for you.
I don't.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about other people right now, Adam.
Okay, not you.
Okay, so if you want to evangelize somebody, you have to give them yourself. You have to share your life with them. I mean, you have to really make a gift of yourself to them. They have to know you so that they might come to know Christ. Christ is no longer I who live, but Christ who lives within me. Mm-hmm. If you don't have that, you're not going to evangelize anybody in the first place.
But you're not going to have that if you don't think about Christ, if you don't learn about Christ.
Right, I know, but I'm just talking about social media. I'm assuming that you've already done all those things that you're talking about.
Right.
And you are ready to evangelize somebody. You can't have a shared life with somebody on social media. It's not real.
Okay, so can I go back to real quick, like, to the beginning steps, like the leisure to contemplation? Like, that's why adoration is so important.
Okay.
Right? That's why adoration is so important, because, like, that is a true leisure moment. And that's, like, learning, like,
you just blew the whole episode that you were going to do. You just did the whole thing. You just ruined it.
I should do a whole episode on this. Yeah, this is afterwards. Like, there's a whole, like, 6 people that watch this. So, I could do a whole episode on it. Do you think that's a good idea? Do you like that?
Yeah. Sure. I thought that's what you were saying in the first place. No. This is the next episode, or this is one of the episodes you're going to do.
No, I was just no.
Yeah. So anyway,
sweet.
I don't know how we got to evangelizing from being ready to die. But